What if you and I met and we were sitting at a party having a conversation? I told you there's this special list that everybody on this list, over 25% of the people on this list, will absolutely have to and must sell their property in the next 24 months. In this episode, me and my friend Micah are going to be having a conversation about how to find inherited land and houses for sale. All right, so first we're going to be talking about how death, being so morbid, is one of the largest transfers of wealth that will ever happen. Next, we're going to be talking about how literally over 25% of the people on this inherited land list and house list will have to sell in the next 24 months. And by the end of this episode, I'm going to give you the exact place that you can get this nice, juicy list for you to start mailing today. Start calling it today and getting these smoking hot real estate deals. Hello, Rhino Nation. It is me, Brent Bowers, your landman. I've got an amazing guest today, and we're going to be talking about one of the probably most exciting lists that I am mailing right now in my land and house business. This list, 25% of the people on this list will be selling in the next 2 years, the next 24 months. Do the math. That is a huge number of people on this list. And this list are people that need or have to sell. They don't want the property. This is a burden on their back, and you want to help these sellers. You want to get in touch with these people. So I'm going to be introducing you to Micah over at US Lead List, and I hope you enjoy this episode. He's got tons of gold nuggets to share with us today, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Mr. Micah, how are you doing today?
I am excellent. Yourself?
Really good, really good. I'm excited to talk to you because you're not only a real estate investor, literally you've had a deal that you wholesaled literally in my own backyard. It's kind of how we met, as well as you are the owner of a very, very successful data company. So let's first talk about, how did you get into real estate and how did you marry that with data? Or was it data first and then real estate? And then let's talk about the amazing offer that we have today and how you're helping me out with my land investing business and also other land sharks. How did you get started? Tell me a little bit about the story of you marrying data with real estate.
It was definitely real estate first. I have been just, an entrepreneur since childhood, mostly failed attempts, but real estate, it's such a wonderful business. It's so simple. If you do the numbers right, it's really hard to fail. I bought my first properties. One was a little fourplex that I bought it was like $58,000, but it made like $1,800 a month. It was just the easiest slam dunk deal. And then I bought another one a month later. It was a fiveplex. And I was, I kind of own those, managed them, didn't take any money out, put all of my money back into it. And I just made them cool. They're old historic properties in a historic town pretty close to me here in Wisconsin. And so I did that for, 6 years. And this business kind of washed up on my shore. I was, wanting to grow. Wasn't quite seeing all of the pieces come together for the vision of my life, the financial dreams that I had, what I felt like I could claim as a person and then give back to people as well. I sold those two properties that I referenced, and I bought US Lead List from two super cool guys, Terry and Lance. They started this, I think, 2006. When did you use them back when?
I first heard about US Lead List on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, by the way.
Okay.
They're like OGs.
Totally.
And I think I got on the waiting list in 2017, and I think I was on their waiting list for a little over a year for my two counties that I was interested in Colorado. And they were not messing with land back then, or I didn't know about it if they were. These were just for inherited houses. And finally, I think I started using them late 2017. So yeah, that's about the time frame.
Okay. Yeah, I think they started maybe 10 years earlier. But yeah, so, once I saw the opportunity, several things clicked together. It's like, okay, you mean I can handle large volumes of data and I can incorporate it into my own real estate business and I can refine and practice and test and, just kind of play around and daydream for what makes a good lead, what makes for good data to market to. That probably sounds really boring to some people, but for me, it's like become this, it's I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, but
I'm thinking of data driven.
And well, yeah, certain people are and others aren't. But I think for me, what really excites me is just finding groups of people that share the right mentality of wanting to sell, being motivated. And like, the absentee owner, just there's a lot of like segments of lists that like, there's always a little bit of interest there. But how do you find that sweet spot where it's like people need or have to sell? And so that's been a super fun exploration process for me to kind of work, define. But, our main product, which is the inheritance list, kind of comes down to the most basic event that causes the largest transfer of wealth in, the world right now. And that's death. It's morbid. And I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about how to treat this list, how to market to this list, how to talk to people when you get calls. There's a lot of things that you need to understand. And mostly just, I think you have to be a good person and treat people kindly and with respect. But there's certain tricks to kind of disarm people in really highly emotional situations. That is just a really large opportunity. Like, the data that we publish, we've found that within 2 years, 25% of these people sell. And, even just maybe an even better example. So this last quarter, we published with our list, it was like 250,000 records. And we started scrubbing our records against what Zillow has. And of those 250,000 records, we scrubbed 20,000 off that had been sold within the last 3 months. And, granted, right now we're doing quarterly lists. So that would take us to the beginning of that cycle. And so you can see how much, land, how much motivation is there. People have to sell these properties a lot of times, or, they get put into someone's lap who doesn't have to sell, but they're an inconvenience. Yeah, I think that's the basis of around what we do with our main product. And we're definitely working to expand more into other things. And this land situation was something that Lance and Terry, they never worked on. And, frankly, it was kind of, I was just blind to it until I called you up and talked to you. I don't know, was that like a year ago or 9 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
Yeah. And so we started overlapping our data with, vacant land, and kind of put together this sample list for you to just work with and play around. And, just from your response, it really felt like we're on to something. There's people there. It's, it's almost better than a home, an inherited home, because land, it's like this thing that's like, there's no like real value. It's just kind of sitting there. It's not something you use necessarily.
Tell you, I bought 3 parcels in an area that I was not in yet. And this seller and my acquisition manager, Jen, worked with them. They were just so easy, like, to work with. They were just so thankful, and they were appreciative of our help. And just not our usual sellers when we do a house deal, and most of our land sellers are pretty, thankful to work with and grateful. But I would say that the best explanation of these guys that sold us these 3 parcels in Pennsylvania were just grateful that, and one of them actually has a building on it. It was land.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
But the county messed it up, and there's like the building is okay, but it's a plus,
Totally.
It's an extra plus. It already has electric and water and sewer and all that stuff. And one thing you mentioned, the 250,000 record, you said over a quarter period, 20,000 of them sold. That's like 12% of them in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's pretty good numbers. If 12% of that list is going to sell within 3 months, would you rather talk to someone that's planning to sell within the next 3 months, or someone that's never planned to sell and you just caught them
or might sell, but you don't know. Yeah.
Man, that's pretty good numbers though. 2 years, 25% of them will sell. And you're absolutely right. It is the largest transfer of wealth is death. And that's when the wealth transfers. You hit on so many great points, and keep going. And I want to keep diving into this, but I feel like I kind of knocked you off track, but I just wanted to mention those.
Oh, yeah.
again?
Well, I mean, I guess just to pick up, I mean, marketing is just, it's a little bit of art, a little bit of science, and finding kind of the nuance and the right message and the timing and all those things. It's really hard, but it's a lot better when you're doing it at scale. So when you're,
Yeah.
you kind of pull back, and you can have a crappy message and you can still close deals if you're sending it to enough people.
Yeah.
And earlier before the show, you and I were just talking about that in my own marketing and what I do for, basically we wholesale houses, and we're looking for, buy and hold as well, just any deals that monetize themselves and spin off a little free cash flow. But what we do is we scale up quite a bit. We basically mail Minnesota and Wisconsin with all of our list. And that's how we're turning and getting our capital back from our marketing dollars. Is, keeping your marketing small. It's hard because, without enough mail pieces hitting enough mailboxes.
I mean, they kind of are like little people that they've got messages on them.
That's right. That's right. And that's another thing that I love about letters, is that until they're thrown away or destroyed or whatever, they're sending that message. It's so much different than a phone call. It's so much different than a voicemail or an email. Like all those things, they kind of disappear. But one of my favorite stories about that Terry and Lance told me when I was, working with them on the transition of the business, they're like, we got a call. It was 5 years after we sent the letter, and it wasn't even the person who we sent it to. It was the daughter, and they were going through their stuff and they found it in a file, and then they called us, and then they sold us the house.
I can't tell you how often that happens.
Yeah.
So often. Yeah. We had same thing happened. We had mailed someone, I think a couple years ago, and they said, you know what, Grandpa had really good files. And we found this file with this vacant raw piece of land in Colorado Springs, and it had your letter in it. It was a land offer letter. It was a purchase agreement. Will you still honor this from 2 years ago? And we asked for the reference number and the address, and we figured out which one it was. And yes, we will honor that.
Yeah, not a problem. More than happy.
And it was a great deal. So that's amazing. And just for the listener that doesn't understand inheritance, and for me, I don't claim to be an expert on inheritance. I've only done a small number of deals of people that inherited land and houses.
Sure.
Like, will you give kind of like the layman's terms? What does inheritance mean?
Sure. Well, yeah. So it covers kind of a broad swath. So the event that we're wrapping everything around is death. And there's several different ways that a property can be held, and it affects how that parcel or property is either given to the surviving spouse, or it goes through probate, and it's a legal process, or it's in a trust and it bypasses probate. So again, we'll start with death. Someone passes away, they own a property, and that property gets sucked into probate. So there's, someone who is, kind of the executor of either the will, if there is one, or there's no will. And those assets get distributed to the rightful heirs. And those could be named or they could be unnamed. And if you're gathering, this is a complex thing. There's so many variables. There's so many types of situations that arise that, for us, we think it's best to just lump them all into one. Mm-hmm. You send them a letter. You don't talk about death. You don't imply that you're aware. You just send a letter saying you want to buy property, which is true. Once you start getting calls, you collect on that interest, whatever it may be, and that's going to happen. Just in all fairness, I field a fair amount of those phone calls, and if your skin's not thick enough to withstand a few of those, I don't suggest mailing to this list.
That's why I have a rhinoceros behind me. It's 3-inch thick skin.
That's right, man.
So that reminds me daily that we have to have thick skin in this business. And not to point out the negatives, but I had someone, really upset that their grandfather had just passed away, and they're getting a letter within like a week. And I remember that message is like, his body is not even cold yet, and you're mailing me. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, this data is good. And on the other hand, I was like, oh, wow, I feel bad. And I could have chosen to dwell on that, or just know that she was not in the quite I mean, she was just taking that out on me, and I had to be there for her. We did not end up buying that property. I will say that. But I didn't follow up with her either. I was too afraid
Right.
to.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the best thing to remember when you get calls like that is that, these people, love makes us do crazy things when, it's at stake or it's gone and you can't get it back. And those people who are the most angry are the people who care the most. They miss their family or whoever it was. And I do my very best to honor them. I'd be respectful, because I care, it's just part of my personality. I'm going to die. People I love are going to die. And that's part of this. And so I think it's good to just come in with a proper understanding that, people are going to be sensitive, and you can use that, to be helpful, or you can be scared from it. Just, it depends, but it's best to just come in with awareness that you can help people, and people need help, but they don't always know how that's going to look because they're blinded by their emotions.
Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, I'm going to look at a commercial building. Well, it's actually for today. It was scheduled for today. Now it's scheduled for the end of the week, but guess why it got rescheduled? The seller's wife just died.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't mail an inheritance list. I didn't mail a probate list. I didn't mail a pre-foreclosure list. This was actually an office building that I'm looking to buy for myself. And you just never know. Like, it doesn't have to be like, obviously let's set up the odds in our favor.
Right.
People that need and want to sell and have to sell, your words. I love that. I want to talk to people that need or have to sell, not people that might sell because the sun's shining the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for breaking that down. I'd love to talk more about what you're doing with the data, how you're cultivating it. And it really is. It's all about data. Be a data-driven real estate company. As business owners, we should go off of data, not drama, not how we feel. There was one time several years ago, this was 2017 timeframe. Maybe it's 2016. I don't know. But it was during an election season, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was convinced mail didn't work because there was like 1 month period where I mailed this huge list and no one called. And I realized, oh man, this is an election season. I stopped mail. Like, I went off my emotions, not off of data and key performance indicators, KPIs. Yep. So data driven. Let's always remember that, like, data driven. So what are you doing with these leads? I know we're working some stuff right now to benefit the land sharks community, other land investors. Myself, I'm excited for the list that we talked about over text message a couple of days ago. How is this looking? Like, what's the future looking like with this?
Well, let me just make sure I understand. So what's the future look like for the land, the list, like where we're going with our company?
Where you're going with US lead list. Sorry, I should have specified that a little better. Where you're going with US lead list and what you're doing with this land list as far as the inheritance for vacant raw land.
Basically, since I acquired this business, I've been working to just take, Lance and Terry were great guys, but they were not technologically savvy at all. We had an online database company where our product was completely data driven, and they ran their business with paper. And so for the last, little over a year,
and they answered the phone too. Like, they always answer their own.
Oh, phones. Well, that doesn't change. My sister is my salesperson, and she's fantastic. Her name's Tava, and she always answers the phone, and she'll get back to you. She's super cool. But they didn't have any kind of systems to just make the business work well. And so that's what I've been working on is, data delivery via a website rather than, a phone call, then, taking our credit card information over the phone, running the card. And then, so we just made it a lot simpler and easier. But what that's actually done for us, which is way better for investors, is that it's allowed us to change the cadence in which we publish the list. So forever, US lead list has been driven, quarterly. So you buy a list and you get that quarterly data. The problem is, and I mentioned it before, is we started scrubbing our data and we started seeing these big gaps of lots of properties being sold that you couldn't capitalize on. And so we're transitioning to a monthly platform, and we're 90% there. Our new website's launched, but we're still building all the backend capability. What that does for, whether, be it parcels of vacant land or, inheritance leads, is you're getting the information closer to the event, and which I'll just caution again, does get you closer to those negative emotions, but
Yeah.
it gets you closer to the opportunity too. And so, moving into the vacant land, our process around is that we'll publish monthly lists, people who own, additional properties other than, the home that they lived in when they passed, and including vacant land. And that is where, I think your listeners will really benefit, and to market to a group where, it's like this thing's sitting there, either they've got a big plan for it, or they're going to get rid of it because it doesn't really serve a purpose for them,
Yeah.
their ideology, and what they had going on in their lives at the time. Because death as an event, it shakes up your emotions so much. I've talked to enough people in this situation where you get them on the phone, and particularly with surviving spouses, and this is where I was talking about earlier, you just have to be really careful how you talk to these people. But they're grieving that, they've been married to these people for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And I'll say that most of our, the leads on our list, they're aged, they're older people. And so you talk to them, and they're just like, well, I've got this house, it's 4 bedrooms, just don't have a purpose for it. And you can hear the sorrow and the dread, but also the motivation that, like, they don't need to be there. They don't need that much. And they want to move on with their life. And this is where you do actually get to help. You get to solve a problem for these people and come in and make a win-win situation where, you're taking this extra load off of their hands, and you got to make money as a real estate investor by being in the right place at the right time.
And being a good listener, and being a problem solver,
right,
and a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes I feel like we're unlicensed therapists.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I completely agree with that.
Guys, smash that like button if you're getting tons of value out of this. Let's keep going. If I'm in land or I'm in houses, this is a great solution, a great way of getting data, whether it be I could be in both businesses,
Totally.
Land and houses. Obviously, I really think that we probably got the listener salivating at the mouth by now. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there, how to get in touch with you, inheritedlandlist.com. And we'll mention it again towards the end of the episode, but I encourage you guys to reach out, reach out to Micah over at inheritedlandlist.com, and, check out what he's got, in the state that you're actually in. A lot of times this is data. It's more kind of a sniper approach. It's not, we're just throwing a bunch of spaghetti on the wall, seeing what sticks. Like, we're actually talking to people that have to or need to sell because they no longer need that 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. They need to downsize. They don't want to take on that management. We're looking at a piece of land right now, 19 acres. The lady is selling off everything. The husband was like a serial entrepreneur, and he just acquired everything, like from jewelry to real estate to farms to a shrimp farm. Like, she's just selling it all.
Oh my gosh.
And this is actually a real estate broker that brought me this deal, but I'm sure I would have found her with Micah's list, the inherited list. So, and I wouldn't have to be dealing with the real estate broker right now. I would rather be dealing with her directly, because
save that 6% or, whatever it is on a commercial sale.
Yeah. Not just the money, the 6% on a $1.7 million purchase, by the way, it's huge, but how do I really figure out how to solve her problems, what she's really looking for? And it might not be money. She might want a monthly income for the rest of her life. I don't know. But I'm not getting that information because I'm dealing with a broker that works directly for her.
Yeah, that's hard. It's so much better to be able to pick up the phone and give them a call and ask them good questions and listen.
I know you've mentioned a lot. You've given a lot of tips on how to talk to these people. So if someone goes to inheritedlandlist.com, they purchase, let's just say they purchased the whole state of, I don't know, Arizona, which I'm pretty sure is a hot market, right? No pun intended.
Definitely. Yep.
A lot of people go there, elderly people go there, and eventually they pass away. I call you, or I go to inheritedlandlist.com. Is there any direction you give me as far as, hey, a sample letter or how to talk to these people when I do start mailing them?
We have a fulfillment company. It's small, and we do everything literally by hand. We don't handwrite, but we hand stuff, print and stamped letters. So there's a few important things to be aware of. But yeah, we do have a couple letters that we use, and we proofread a decent amount of letters of other people and give our feedback based on just the lens that we have and of experience. The employees who do the printing, they've been doing this for 15 years. We certainly can help with that. We have sample letters that we have. Something that's worth mentioning is we always recommend using first-class service for our letters. And the reason for that is because first-class handling allows them to, the post office, to forward your letter. And a lot of times what happens in this situation is, let's say, someone's father passes away in Madison, Wisconsin, close to me, and the children moved away. They're in Georgia. And what they do is they forward all of that mail because they're managing the estate, and they forward it down to their house in Georgia. And if you don't do first-class handling, they won't ever get the message. Your message will never land in the right mailbox. And so I just implore everyone to spend the extra 10 cents or, whatever it is to have that first-class handling, because your delivery rate is going to be way higher. And, you're going to get that envelope in the right place. The other thing that is really important, and I, it's fun being in the position that I am, because when we took over the business, I just basically started calling all of our customers and talking to them and asking them, okay, how do you use this? What works? What doesn't? I've talked to hundreds of people just who are doing the same business that you are, that we are, and just collected ideas that I think are really interesting. And one of the things that I found, the most reverberating message that I got over and over again, is that if you're mailing a list once, you're leaving 90% of the profit on the table. So I have this awesome lady in Los Angeles, and she's been a customer for, I think it's been 13 years. Every quarter, she says charge her card, and she spends a lot of money with us. I want to say it's not a lot, but like $1,000 on just the data. But for her, she doesn't care, because she's taking our data, she puts it into her CRM, and she mails these people 8 letters, no matter what. They all get 8 letters, unless either, it's sold or they come back to her, and then she tries to requalify them. And what she's done is, for her, she's built such a physical presence of her business with these letters that every time I talk to her, I like her. So I actually call her every quarter. I'm like, hey, tell me what's up. Every time I talk to her, she's in one of the most competitive and highly priced markets in the US, in the world. She's like, hey, I just closed 2 more deals from you guys.
Oh,
and
that's a victory bell. I'm just going to go ahead and hit it
right?
for her.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's funny because, we do, 90% of the work, and we don't cross that last 10%. But I will say, like, for her, the data that we sell, it's not the most expensive part. By the time she's done, she's spending, depending on if she's doing postcards or letters or a combination of both, she's sending, it's like $20 per person on the list. But that's how much she trusts it. And she's built out such a large network of.
But that's 8 mailers though, too.
Right.
$20 per person. So if you break that down to 8 different touches,
right,
and that's actually a pretty decent deal. I mean, that's less like $2.20 a piece.
Yep.
Per touch.
Yep.
And you're doing all the work for her. So we're talking about the list that you just pull from me. Like, I'm just really happy to hear that you're going to do the mail too, because I love my land offer letters, but now I have to grab that list from you. I got to purchase another number. I got to put it into my CRM for that specific area. But just to have you guys take care of all of it, I just got to provide the number.
Yeah, it's simple. Yeah, and that's what a good business does. Ideally, is they solve problems and just make like what you need to do easy, pleasant, and enjoyable. So you're on the receiving end of like, okay, I'm getting calls, or, maybe it's not working. And like, we need to go back to the drawing board. Like, okay, what was the message wrong? Do we need to shift some things? Because like I said earlier, marketing, it's, part art, part science, and you kind of have to work with it to find that right spot.
I love it. I'm even more excited now about what we're working on with the land mailers, Vacant, inherited raw land. I'm super excited about this. And I'm super excited for anybody listening to this that's doing land or houses. Head on over to inheritedlandlist.com. Micah will give you the most up-to-date data there is. And eventually this will be out monthly and even help you mail it. And that's a great tip with the first class mail. That's one argument that I don't want to say an argument, but a lot of people just say, oh, just do the standard mail, just do the standard mail, save the extra. See, that's the problem. You're trying to save pennies and you could be making $100 bills when you save pennies. So I would rather trade a penny for a $100 bill every single day of the week. Twice on Sunday. So just knowing those little extra tips is amazing. So I definitely, we need to end this podcast because it's running long, but wow, we might have to do 2 parts actually, such amazing content. Is there any other final, words of wisdom or gold nuggets you want to leave the audience with, Micah?
I think, the last piece that I left out about, my friend in Los Angeles is that her cadence, I think, is really important as well. As collecting interest from someone who's got emotional scars over a long period of time gives you the best chance to find that right moment. Because, I don't know about you, Brent, but I mean, actually, I do know this, but, you don't buy people, you don't buy anything from people who don't want to sell. You get to buy something when they're saying, yes, I need to get rid of this. And there's a lot of reasons why that could come up. But what she does is she mails out quarterly, not monthly, not weekly, but quarterly. So it's, from that first touch to the last touch, it's 2 years.
That's a pretty good long cycle of follow-up.
Right. Exactly.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And yeah, you don't buy anything from someone that doesn't want to sell it. So pure gold there. Guys, if you're listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, I want to get my hands on this inherited list, this inherited land list, this inherited house list. I also want Micah to take care of the mailing for me. Just do it all for me. I want to use your amazing letters because I know you guys have some, cutting edge letters. I've actually got to take a peek at those whenever Lance and Terry were running the business. So amazingly, head on over to inheritedlandlist.com. And guys, if you're looking to get started in land, you know the drill. Head on over to wholesalinginc.com/land and schedule a call. Talk to you soon. God bless. All right, guys, head on over to inheritedlandlist.com right now. Schedule a call with Micah. Go ahead and get your list. Start mailing that list and calling that list today for some of the best real estate deals that you're going to find.